All right. Hey, everyone on Zoom, we're getting there. We're getting there. This might actually be the best we can do for the Zoom people, so bear with us. For everyone in the room, thanks for showing up. You know, this is our first attempt at a hybrid meeting approach, and so we weren't sure how this was going to turn out, and hey, the room is full. This is great. For the people on Zoom, you're missing out. We got a bar over here, fully stocked. We got a bunch of food over here that we're going to be probably handing out outside after the event here. So appreciate everyone, wherever you're at, showing up. We're a little bit off kilter here. You know, we were thinking we were going to be a little bit more technical here than we are, and I thought I'd have an agenda. Instead, I have a piece of paper. So I'm Earl Doobie. I'm the president of the CSA Detroit. I think most of you know me. I've met most of you many times. So welcome. And we have a couple cool presentations going on tonight. I'm pretty excited about this. So we have Lookout, which is going to come up, give us a 10-minute or 5-minute. Hey, take 10 minutes. Take all you want. And then they'll be followed by iBoss. You guys put this on, right? This is all you're doing? So take many minutes after the event and talk to this lady right here. And, you know, again, thanks again. And if we could bring up Randy from Lookout. You know, this reminds me, like, we took a vacation to Chattanooga. You ever heard of the Chattanooga Lookouts?
In Tennessee there?
Yeah, Chattanooga in Tennessee. No, not the Chattanooga in Ohio, the Chattanooga in Tennessee.
I don't know.
All right. Sorry about that. Then I guess this joke's lost on you. But anyways, here you go.
Awesome. Thank you. So hi guys. Like you said, I'm going to take 5 or 10 minutes, just give you a little bit of background about Lookout, what we do, and really more importantly, how we help our customers and the use cases, right? We're not going to get too technical or anything like that. Just going to be very high level. And what I'm going to do is kind of take you through this slide together. We're going to start on the left and work our way over. So really from a Lookout perspective, we got started in the consumer space. So when really mobility blew up, early 2000s, we created a consumer application on the Apple and Google Play stores. And from a consumer perspective, we were able to help many people. And organically over the years, we added a lot of features and functionalities to create an enterprise-grade solution in a mobile threat defense space. So most of the people I talk to when we say, hey, mobile threat defense, the reply is, I'm good. I have a mobile device management platform. My mobility is protected. And my reply to that is, it's a great first step, but there's a lot of things you're missing, right? So from an MDM perspective, whether you're using somebody like an Intune, VMware, Mobile Iron, these are a lot of good vendors, but what we do from a mobile threat defense integrates directly into them. We don't compete with them at any level. So a lot of the times it's like, okay, well, if I have an MDM, why do I need mobile threat defense? The first thing I like to bring up is network security, right? If you're going to, say, Starbucks, and you connect to the Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi is Starbucks-2, right? You're on the Wi-Fi, you're happy, but the real Wi-Fi at Starbucks is Starbucks. So now you're dealing with a network security issue that your MDM will never see. Now you have a man-in-the-middle attack. Now this person's looking at this device, what's going on, what they're doing, and the bigger question and thing that you have to worry about, you have company-managed applications on this device. What can it do to your data? This is something, again, an MDM doesn't touch, but we focus on here at Lookout from a mobility perspective because it's untouched and a very large risk. So which leads to the next thing is application security, right? Again, we're seeing across the board large organizations, enterprises, adopting a bring your own device to work strategy. Because if you're looking at it every 3 to 5 years with a large hardware replacement fees on 10, 20, 50, however many thousands of devices, it's not worth it. All of us have phones in this room, right? Let's use the devices that you already own, but now it becomes a problem for us to secure them. The idea here is when the users are downloading applications, they can be risky, high-risk applications. Maybe there's inherent flaws to them. So what do we do from a mobile threat defense perspective to help? Because again, you're gonna have applications like, hey, you like, I don't know, Candy Crush. Well, maybe there's something wrong with that that's gonna mess with your email account, right? These are real things. So at Lookout, we have a repository of 150 million applications. Now, that's a great big number, but what does it mean to you? Well, if you take all of the applications on the Google, the Apple Play stores, you're coming in right around 30 million applications, okay? If you look at any other vendor in the space of mobile threat, 50, 60, maybe even 70 million. We're at 150. And what that does is it gives you threat intelligence that's really not able to be given from any other vendor from a mobile security perspective. And we're going to give you this low, medium, high risk version of what these applications are doing. So then when Joe downloads application XYZ and it's high risk, we'll say, Joe, you need to get rid of this application and uninstall it from your phone. And until you do that, you do not have access to corporate email on this device. This is what we're doing, right? These are the use cases that, again, people think mobile, but when you go from an application or a network perspective, there's big holes. And it brings me to like the last area really of mobile that's increasing exponentially. And it's mobile phishing, text message phishing. It's a huge issue, and a lot of executives are being attacked through it. Why do they do it? For the last 3 to 4 years, everybody's been worried about phishing via email, business email compromise, spoofing, and it's been rampant. The business or the email gateway vendors, they've been getting a lot better. The Mimecasts, the proof points, they've been spotting phishing, and also everybody in this room to some extent has learned and implemented a security awareness training strategy in the past couple years to train your end users. Don't click the fish. Let's make it so easy that there's a button directly in your Outlook and Gmail that if it looks fishy, click it. IT will look at it, we'll pull it apart and sandbox it. So this is making the threat actors change, the nation states. How can I do this with completely avoiding email security? Okay, I'll send a text message. Hey man, check this out. Click the link. Hey, it's Jim from accounting. Can you check this report? You click the link, you go to the malicious website, and guess what? It's a phish just like it was an email, and it didn't touch your email gateway. We're seeing over 500 mobile phishing sites pop up a day at Lookout. And, you know, the fun part of it, well, I guess fun part, if you will, the interesting part is even from a QR code perspective, how many of you go to restaurants and you go scan the QR code? You know what they're doing now, the bad guys? They're mimicking restaurant menus. They're looking for sites where they're saying, hey, there's 2,000 people that work at this XYZ company. What's a popular lunch spot? Let's go spoof that restaurant menu and have them click. Your corporate applications are on that device. And now they have your corporate credentials rolling through O365 laterally throughout the entirety of your organization. This is what we solve, and this is all on the blue end, which is mobile threat defense. And the main point to take across from this is when you create your strategy, and if you have an MDM, that's good, but it's only really a first step. And with us, we're going to give you the complete solution. And it really brings us to the security graph here. So, you know, as I mentioned, we have 150 million applications in our repository, but we have actually over 200 million endpoints secured across the world. All that threat intelligence creates the security graph for us, and we said, how do we expand, right? Mobility is, you can argue, somewhat niche, okay? So what we've done is adopted, and the new popular industry term everybody's talking about is SASE, Secure Access Service Edge. It's a new Gartner Magic Quadrant. Everybody's trying to get involved. You spoke to any vendor in the last year, I guarantee they asked you, hey, you looking at SASE? Are you going to do anything in it? And the answer is yes for everyone. So what we've done is we've actually created a CASB and a ZTNA engine on top of our mobility. That's all on one platform. And it's interesting because from a CASB perspective, whether it's a SaaS application, whether it's infrastructure as a service, Azure, AWS, Google, if you have on-premise applications, right? If you have applications sitting behind a VPN, we could give you zero trust, and all with the same policies built in. There's no other platforms. It's one and done. And the really interesting part with the totality of this is we built our CASB and ZTNA on a data protection status point. And what I mean by that, if you look at most other CASB vendors of the world, it's all about visibility, access control, shadow IT. Got to have it. It's part of it, right? Access is in the acronym. But we focus on data protection with a full information rights management platform baked directly in. There's no third parties, there's no plugins, nothing. What does that mean is now all of your encryption needs, all of your advanced DLP needs, all of your optical character recognition needs are all baked in. And a nice use case I like to bring together with this whole endpoint to cloud structure is you now have Joe. He logs in to, say, your SharePoint environment, download some information from a company-managed device. Awesome. We allow it. The next day, Joe logs into his email from a BYOD device or, say, a device, his own home PC. This is the device we don't recognize. This is a BYOD device. Well, he still authenticates and gets into your O365 SharePoint. So you know what we're going to do now? We're going to automatically encrypt all the data that goes onto that device because it's about marrying device security to cloud security, where we can contextualize the policies at the same time and create real value for you. And this is new, and this is how we're structuring it here at Lookout, where you got to have endpoint security and you have to have cloud, but marrying them together and following the SASE methodology, that's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing differently than most. And with that, I'll ask everybody one question in this room. I don't need a reply, but it's just something interesting to think about. What would you rather lose? Your wallet or your phone? And it's changed quite a bit when you think about that. So with that, that's pretty much, Lookout in a nutshell. We have a table outside with a lot of swag. Please come take the stuff, a lot of cool stuff. If you have any questions for me, love the chat, and appreciate your time. So thanks, guys.
All right, good. Thanks. So how many people knew about Lookout before just now? Okay, 1, 2, 3. How many people know about Lookout now? Okay, see right there the value of showing up and supporting the CSA Detroit.
Can I just make that comment? Since you now know about Lookout, there's a free version of the app available for all of your phones. So as much as we'd love to sell you the Lookout for the workplace and
All right, so for the people on Zoom who can't hear the guy in the back of the room talking, he's saying there is a free version of Lookout for the phone. So go out there.
phone from AT&T, for example, they bury it in with the phone and so on. So many people don't know they have it, and they look
Yeah,
for Green Shield among their apps. But
good, good.
if nothing else to help you tonight, go download a copy for your phone and your kids' phones. Even more important.
All right, thank you, thank you. So we will keep that in mind. Free app for Lookout. And then while I'm up here, I got a couple PSA announcements to make before we get to the next part here. So just to do a little year in review for the CSA Detroit. So when we first started out, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, we were at less than 50 members on LinkedIn, where we surpassed 690 this year. So the following is coming, the following is getting out there. Cloud security is definitely picking up, and people are interested, and we're here to, help everyone out. We also had 9 events this year, which this is our 9th event. It's also our biggest stretch, hybrid, like I said. Actually, Eric's doing a great job over here. Everyone give Eric a little round. All right, and then another thing that I'm pretty proud of is we really want to support students, because we all understand we have a pipeline problem when it comes to cybersecurity talent. So we do what we can. We do a lot of mentoring. A lot of the board members do mentoring at universities like Eastern Michigan, Walsh College, Oakland. So we also gave out $400 worth of gift cards to students this year. So that's something I'm proud of. And then probably the biggest thing that we've done this year that I'm really happy with, and Za, who is another one of our board members back there, was instrumental in getting our scholarship together. So we're doing 2 $2,500 scholarships. We'll be handing those out next year to 2 students who are going into cybersecurity. So we're going to help them do that. So, the money that these sponsors give us doesn't all go to food and drinks. We're giving some of that back, trying to give as much back as we can. So don't feel too bad. It's going to a good cause. So with that, let's see, any other board members here? So we got Eric, we got Jaman over there, Hayden. Come on, hey, just come on, give me a camo here. Cameo, not a camo, cameo. And then we got Za in the back. Anyone else? Nope. So I appreciate all the board members. This is all volunteer work. None of us are getting paid for this. And, we all do it because we're passionate about security. We're passionate about cloud security. And we want to get students involved. So that pipeline is really a second tier of really what we're trying to do with this organization. So with that, if we can bring up Aaron, who is going to introduce iBoss. And let's try to keep it to 5 minutes, maybe 10, but not 20. All right, thanks.
Hi, everybody. I'm Erin Lohr from iBoss. We are extremely proud to be here tonight. We're new to the Cloud Security Alliance in Detroit. Before I get started, though, I just wanted to acknowledge kind of the seriousness of the events in this community last week. I think it's just important to think about the unpredictability of this world and what that sort of taught everybody has some kind of connection to that community in Oxford. So I just thought I'd just get that out there and address it. It really hit home because I have a high school daughter who, was afraid to go to school after that. So it got me thinking about the importance of resilience and just how it teaches us the need for community to come together like this to help each other be resilient, because there's nothing more constant than change and unpredictability. So I think organizations like this are super important, and we're proud to be here. So my background, I came back to Detroit this summer. My husband and I lived in Chicago for 12 years, originally born and raised in Royal Oak. Went to high school in Birmingham, went to undergrad at Michigan, go Blue. That was another very unpredictable event this past couple weeks. It was great. What brings me back here is family. We have a very large extended family in every city of Detroit or every city of Michigan. So really glad to be back. And joining iBoss was another big move that I made this year. I spent 7 years with McAfee in security. That I purposely joined the industry because I was interested in the growth and the importance of it, right? Fighting against the bad actors who are taking data that doesn't belong to them. It seems pretty important to me. So I started out in professional services, kind of my boot camp years, working with endpoint teams, network teams, you name it. So much has changed since then. It was only right around the time of the Sony breach when I started, and Amazon was a bookstore, and SIMs had manageable data, and endpoint was was signature-based. Everything is different now. Everything is now moving to the cloud, as you know, very quickly. So when I decided to make a move, I was looking at any company that had to do with really growth areas, like the cloud, identity access management, anything with IoT. Those are all attack surface areas that I think need extra attention. So I looked at all the companies. I really spent my time researching, and in January I started talking to iBoss. I hadn't heard of them. Most of you probably haven't heard of us yet. I thought it was a little bit of a weird name at first, but the more research I did, I saw the value of the technology, the platform that was built. Started out in the K through 12 space. The business is not new. It's been around over 15 years. Like the other company, expanded based on need and the trends in the cloud. So we're seeing this exponential growth. It's really started kind of on the coasts. We're newer in the Midwest. I'm the first rep in Michigan, so trying to really meet everybody and network. So this is a great venue. So happy to be here, and our keynote speaker is Jack Graziano. That's another unpredictable event. We had a different name up there. He had a family emergency yesterday, but Jack is ready. So here we go.
I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and for those of you on the camera adds at least 20 pounds, so be aware of what's going on here. So that's me. My wife decided that I needed an executive picture, so we did it today. But I've been around the block for quite a while. Yeah, you like it? I've been around the block, but having some fun. My tenure has been in the cybersecurity space, and I actually fell into it as a young manufacturing engineer. I ran machine shops when I got out of school, but I also dabbled in writing software, and I actually networked all of our computer numerically controlled machines to our CAD CAM system, so I didn't have to sit there and type all the code into the machines because I was lazy as an engineer. So the mother of necessity, I guess, right? But today I find myself here at iBoss with Aaron and Sam, and we are here to kind of tell you guys, and not necessarily pitch iBoss, but talk about our perspective on the industry and some of the terminologies and how we help customers gather these terminologies in a place that makes sense for them. So what we're trying to do is get rid of some of that buzzword. So go ahead and do the next one. So today, all of us, whether we want to be or not, are on a cloud journey, right? We are driving toward the cloud is sucking us all in, and we are in some way, shape, or form on a cloud journey. You might be very early stages, you might be late stages, and you could be anywhere in between. And so today, as we all drive there, we're hearing lots of information coming at us at all times. So, you have, your castle and moat thing is kind of deteriorating, right? Users are working from anywhere. So the endpoint now is becoming that place where you have to make policy decisions. And as they traverse from wherever they are, whether they be at home or at Starbucks, you then have to make policy decisions on the way to their destination. So, and these destinations aren't in your data center, right? They exist in somebody else's data center, whether it be AWS, Google, Oracle, Salesforce, ADP, right? Just for our paychecks. So these systems or these destinations are not in your control anymore, right? So you need to make sure that you're driving not only hygiene with your users, but posture as well, security posture. So, yep, that's great, perfect. This is one of my favorite slides. I call this slide the circle of life, and it is what all enterprises are experiencing today in some way, shape, or form. Right? We created this. Remember this castle and moat problem, and it was real easy. Hey, we just VPN back into the network, and we were there, right? We were in front of our applications. We were in good shape. Well, today, VPNing in is a very complicated experience for your end users and for your IT department, right? You're taking your very highly engineered network and your highly secure network and connecting it to an unsecure network on a machine that is controlled by somebody you don't have a lot of authority over, right? So VPNs are becoming a problem in that respect. The other part of it is that, hey, it's legacy technology. It costs a lot to maintain. It costs a lot to upgrade. It costs a lot to administer. On top of it, it's causing a bandwidth explosion on your own network. It's like, well, wait a minute. I got, this guy at home, he's got a 1 gig Comcast network connection, and he's only getting 20 megs into my network. I mean, that's really painful for somebody to help out. So what you do is you upgrade your bandwidth, and then you have to upgrade your VPN hardware, and then it kind of goes back and forth. So what we're talking about as you migrate your technologies to the cloud, right? That VPN now becomes one of those things that you're kind of questioning. Why am I investing in this? Why am I continually upgrading it? because my applications aren't in my data center anymore, or that one application in the data center that I have to have, that I have to keep because it's legacy. Well, you know what? I could still use the VPN for that, but I don't want to. I want to downsize my VPN and do things like that. So the circle of life says, hey, I am instead of running around and maintaining this bandwidth and this equipment, I got to think differently as my applications move into the cloud. So let's kind of cut through the noise, right? So go ahead and hit the next one. So it's my favorite picture, right? We have this thing, right? It's like, we sent we created this castle and moat, and then we sent all of our soldiers out to go do other things, right? And then we created this VPN to go back. But my applications don't live there anymore. So that's the theme here as we move forward. So go ahead. So, you hear the term zero trust and SASE, and typically they're intertwined. And they are in a lot of ways. But what's really important, the important distinction is, SASE is an architecture that was created by Gartner. And what Gartner, their vision, they actually had good vision on this one, right? They saw all of these security technologies that were all standalone and all by themselves. And they grouped them together into the SASE architecture. Like my friends from Lookout said, SASE, Secure Access Service Endpoint, right? We are our edge, service edge, right? So we sit there and we've kind of gathered all these technologies because our edge is moving, all right? Our castle is gone. Zero Trust is a security framework. It's a discussion about how to create a secure process from point A to point B and all the pieces in between. And that's really the main difference between the two technologies. So SASE is a bunch of applications that we're trying to gather together. Zero Trust is a framework. It's about your own processes. You create the process, you manage it accordingly. We believe that the key to Zero Trust and making SASE work is architecture. There are 3 pillars you have today, or you need to have, right? You need to have authentication, right? You need to know who the user is. It's very important. Zero Trust, it's the key element to Zero Trust, right? Knowing who the user is and least privilege. The second piece is endpoint tools, right? You got to have the right endpoint tools. And those tools have to be organized in a way that solves the immediate problem on that endpoint. And then the third piece is where we live, in the network space. How do I make sure that that connection between the endpoint and where it's going is secure and has the right posture and all the right hygiene around it? So from our perspective, we see it from the bottom up, right? We see everything that happens on the bottom. Those are the endpoints, and you also have your branch offices. How do we use the network? We're being network agnostic. We use the network to get into the security infrastructure. In our case, the security infrastructure contains all of these SASE elements on the left, and on the right is the physical architecture, a containerized architecture that says, hey, I'm going to ensure that the path that my user takes from where they're started to where they're going is isolated, is protected, and is exactly the way you expect it to be, as well as a high-performance, easily managed architecture. And then on the top, well, it's the internet, right? The internet, the open internet, the public cloud, even your private data centers will then be accessed through this. And ZTNA, Zero Trust, ZTNA becomes part of this, but Zero Trust becomes the key differentiator here. Zero Trust, one of Zero Trust tenets is that each section, if you will, of the connection has to be trusted and managed. It has to be, it's incredibly important that those two pieces come together. So go ahead. And wow, a good lead in, Zero Trust. Go ahead, next one. So Okay, so we said this earlier, right? Zero trust is not a technology, it's a methodology. You define the method in your organization, and then you adhere to that method. Now, there are minimums associated with the method, and those minimums are documented actually very well in a NIST document. And then in a modern environment, right, how do we make sure that these boundaries are clear and defined for your organization? So go ahead. Zero trust principles. It's really simple. Identify the user, know the path, least privilege, right? So we ensure that that user has access on a known path to the application that you're defining, that they're trying to access, and they only get access to the things that they need to do in that moment. So a VPN is exactly the opposite, right? You're connecting two networks and you're giving the user complete access to the whole internal network. Zero trust is exactly the opposite. We connect the user to the application. We ensure that they only go to places even within that application as defined by the rules that you set. Go ahead, next one. And this is my favorite document. I am still reading this document. I read this document every page. I have to read twice. But it's important because this is the actual framework for zero trust. This document came out in January of this year, and it became an executive directive from the president that all federal agencies and federal organizations have to follow this particular document. By the way, this is actually filtering down into enterprises today. So go get the document. It's 68 pages. It's worth reading, and it's worth understanding. But zero trust in this component is in this document is all it talks about. And these guys actually didn't build this in a vacuum. They're experts. They come out of NIST. NIST is the guys who keep time for us as part of it. But they also set up all these documents, and they are incredibly useful for you. So go ahead and we'll send you a PDF of this presentation as well. So this is one of the drawings that came in the center. This drawing comes direct. We lifted it directly out of the NIST documentation. But what it describes is exactly how you're supposed to have these connections. You hear me talk about knowing where users are coming from and where they're going and having control over each one of those segments. This is exactly what's going on in this document. Beware of services that kind of hide everything behind one IP address and drive all your traffic through a common technology stack because you can't guarantee when a user, who the user is coming out of that technology stack, and you can't identify them uniquely. What we see here is this is where we live on this space, and this is where what we recommend, right? You sit there, you need to create a checkout lane, if you will, a dedicated checkout lane for your user space. And that dedicated checkout lane gets you the ability to ensure who's coming, who's coming in, and then your applications up top know exactly who's coming out based upon that dedicated checkout lane. So think about it in those terms, and I think that I'm dumbing it down for me. It's how I understood it ultimately. So go ahead, next one. This also brings together some of the SASE components, right? So you see SASE, we actually separated SASE out as network side and security side. But all of these applications, if you will, or functions are SASE functions. And these SASE functions, so you will use some or all of them in your daily lives or in your organization's lives, and you bring them together. What you really, our perspective is you need to bring these together in a nexus, in a tool that creates a nexus for you to make sure that things are getting done. The network guys have to be happy. In our case, we have to talk to the network team and the security team, because if they're both not happy, the struggle will be immense for a very long time. So from our perspective, bringing network together and security together is very important. So go ahead. This is this slide is a summary slide from another presentation. And what I tried to do here is that, we have a 5 steps, even though there's 6 up there. We have 5 steps to SASE in our environment. And what we said is, hey, these are the high-level components that you need to bring together, right? And so you need to have a cloud strategy. If you don't have a cloud strategy, SASE is not going to be important to you because everything's going back and the VPN is going to be what it is, right? You need to have the thoughts around an improved security posture. And because your users are working from anywhere, and I don't know if that's going to go away or if that's going to stay the same. I think there'll be some combination. But that security posture is going to be very important. Enabling zero trust gets you that ability to say, hey, I'm going to identify the user. I'm going to give them the least amount of privilege for that moment in time for whatever transaction they're doing. We call it drop the boat on the drop the boat anchor of your premise technology. The cloud is the cloud. It is what it is, and you pretty much got to get on board. You got to figure out how to get your company on board as well. And then, hey, I I live in Chicago. I was on vacation in Florida today. I flew up here to come up here and hang with you guys, which I'm really enjoying. But tomorrow I will go back to Florida, but I will be working the whole time. And that's that flexibility. So my company allows me the flexibility to do that with my family, and I get the opportunity to meet people like you. So it's fun. And then, we found customers are saying, hey, I've been able to save $100 million this year by not renewing that commercial contract for that building. And I'm able to spend that money someplace else. So, you got to think about those terms as well. So, closing thoughts. Hey, in my perspective, I look at it from 2 pieces. Hygiene, so what's the user's hygiene going to look like? And the other part of it is what's the company's posture? And how do I bring those 2 together in a way that makes sense from the business perspective? Keeping the user educated is a good thing, but ensuring that the complexities that the user has to navigate on a day-to-day basis is really a smarter way to get that done. Ensuring that get rid of those complexities, and then use the tools that you have available to enable that zero trust posture. And I think that's it, right? Yeah, that's it. Got questions? And then we have the iBoss logo up next. So, thank you all. I don't know if you have any questions. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And if you want to answer, is anybody out there willing to ask questions? Or anybody online?
We need at least one question.
Yeah, we need some interaction.
Chris, I have a question. Give us a question about zero trust.
It's okay, Chris. We don't. Sure.
The secure channel you talked about, and you're getting it. What's the best practice around getting the traffic to the security lane?
So, from iBoss, the way that we do it, right, is we establish a secure channel between the endpoint and our data centers. Yeah, it's an encrypted channel. It's a SSL VPN, right? It's an SSL VPN, quote unquote. It's an SSL. It's a stateless SSL connection into our data centers, right? What that means is that because it's stateless, I don't have to worry about network changes or anything like that. And when a connection goes away or when a user is finished with that connection, we tear it down, so we don't have to leave it up or anything like that. And then from the iBoss perspective out, we'll make sure that your traffic is always your traffic egressing, or even within our data centers, but also egressing our data centers. So we don't share any IP addresses with you never share IP addresses with other customers in our data centers. And that's one example. The other example is that we have an isolated path all the way through our data center. So we ensure that your logs, your traffic, your crypto None of that is intermingled with anybody else. And then on the way out, between our data center and wherever the public cloud is, you can go to Azure and say, or Google or Oracle and say, for my tenant, they should only ever come from this IP address, knowing full well that that IP address represents only your traffic and nobody else's. Because we don't have a shared infrastructure. So we have these dedicated checkout lanes as we pass through. So that's a great question. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
So another question around that is on the crypto piece, right? As we, from a SASE perspective, and as we see more and more websites and whatnot being encrypted, how are you handling that from an SSL decryption standpoint?
Yeah, that's a great. So the question is how are we, especially with TLS 1.3, right? How are we handling the decryption discussion, right? So in our case, I'm going to say it loud, say it proud. I've been on the 12-step program. We are a proxy. Period. And because we're a proxy, we can intercept that traffic because we actually terminate the traffic on our platform, and then we establish a separate connection out to the server. So intercepting TLS 1.3 or 1.2 or any other encrypted traffic we handle very well. And what we do as part of our client, what's really great about what we did from our client, we have an endpoint client that you would deploy. And that client does 4 things for us. One of them is it deploys our cert. So now the user and you guys don't have to worry about deploying certs. And it maintains that certificate as well. The second thing it does all the authentication we need, right? So we know who the user is and all their group information and a bunch of information about the endpoint. The third thing it does is traffic steering, right? It ensures that the traffic gets to us. And then the fourth thing we do is posture checking. So we look at the endpoint, and if you fail posture, if the endpoint fails posture, we can put them in a penalty box or do some other things with it. So that makes it easy from a operations perspective. Those are great questions. Anybody else? All right. Well, I'm here for the whole night. I'm excited to be here. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Good job, Jack. So yeah, like everyone else in the room, I almost dropped my beer when I heard him say that he flew up from Florida to be here tonight and flying back to Florida. I don't even think I would have done that, but hey, thanks a lot. And Chris, I won't call on you at any more meetings. Thanks for being a good sport there. So that about wraps it up, other than in the back you will see Renew, another board member. So for everyone, she's important because she has the CPE credits. So anyone that wants to get CPEs for this, email Renew. Normally I have a slide with her email address on it, but we're a little off on that one. And again, thanks to Eric for pulling this all together. I think we had a little hiccups here, but I think the hybrid thing is going to work for us. So anyone in the room think the hybrid's going to work for us? I think it will. People online might have a different opinion, but hang in there. The next one will be better. So with that, thanks everyone, and nobody in the room can leave until the food is gone. So you guys are all on the hook. Everyone online, thanks for joining, and we will see you in January.